Good morning. I appreciate your all's time today, first of all, and first and foremost, because I know CE is required. Some people, obviously want to take advantage of this opportunity, and I appreciate your time to be here, to listen, to learn, and hopefully you'll be able to pick up some information in regards to team building, working with teams, and if you're doing a cross-sale with a team, and you've been in the business for over 15 plus years and you're wondering what this whole team thing is all about, hopefully we can smooth that transition a little bit as well, because teams are not going away. In fact, they're forming more and more every day. So I appreciate you guys listening and your all's time today very much, and Mara for inviting me. So before we get started, I want you to understand where this is coming from. And when I mean this, I'm talking about what you're going to learn today, and also it's coming from a very personal journey that my wife and I started a few years ago. And to be honest with you, I never thought that it was going to turn into what it's turned into, but we wanted to live a life worth living. That was our goal. And that, I think, is most people's goal. For those people who work 7 days a week, 4 hours a day, seemingly, that's not what I want for you, and that's probably not what you want for yourself, but sometimes this business brings it to us, doesn't it? Yes, especially with all the tech toys that are out there, the clients that text and send messages at all kinds of hours of the night, morning, whatever. Still happens today, obviously, and so leveraging that out, that's the biggest word that you're going to hear today, or oftentimes you're going to hear that today, is the word leverage. And so, the thing that I really believe in is controlling our clients as best we possibly can. You can't control everybody because crazy gets in the building every once in a while. We all know that. And one of the tips of the trade is get crazy out of the building as fast as it came in. And if crazy brings crazy into the building, you got to get both crazies out. Anyway, the point to that is we really wanted to change our vision as far as a real estate agent or realtor is concerned. Okay. I was licensed in 2005. My wife was licensed in 2003, and within the first year, we had 2 children at the time, and we noticed quickly that it was consuming us. It was becoming who we were, and I didn't like that. It didn't taste very good. It was turning into this is what we're doing just all the time. We could not turn anything off, and it quickly needed to change, and we actually adjusted. Praise to the Lord, we adjusted quickly, and we really truly built a team quickly that helped us and started our goals, achieving our goals as a team, and that's something that we're gonna discuss today. Personally, I wish that we as in the realtor community weren't judged on production all the time. I wish that we weren't judged off of units and volume and gross commission income. I personally believe that the winner is the person who has the most counterbalance in their life and takes time off. And who takes the most time off and still lives the life they want to live. And that's really where I want to come from today. Because when I discuss some of the things that I am talking about, it's not a bragging sort of thing. It's more of a on purpose sort of thing. I traditionally never work weekends. I traditionally don't work past 7 o'clock at night. Oftentimes my wife and I are seen working out together. When you do an Ironman, you have to bring your family in to the whole deal. Now, obviously, I'm not training right now. But, you know, in order to do these things and achieve the goals that we want to achieve in life, it's not all about money. It's not about the money for us. It's about time, and it's about time with our family, because the one thing that we all have is the ultimate currency, and that's time. Obviously, we lost a comedian, Joan Rivers, yesterday, and you know, she went in for a simple surgery on her vocal cord last week, and her time is done. Her time is finished. Now, she led a very active, vivacious life, but ultimately, at the end of the day, she only had a certain amount of time. And so how long do you have? You don't know that. Nobody knows that on earth. Nobody knows that. And so that's something that we focus on in our family, not just my wife and I, but our children. And we're trying to teach that to our children and instill them to live a life worth living and to instill the traits of a true leader in their life. And so we built a team around that, and we've had some ups and downs within our team, but ultimately our team believes this as well. So it's not like we're sitting here and we take advantage of Leslie's time, and she's a buyer's agent for Mora, and we just, I don't want to do it, let's just give it to Leslie. That's not what I'm talking about. We focus on Leslie's goals as well, so she's not working every single night and every single weekend. So it's this long tail theory. I used an SEO word for those tech people in the world. It's a long tail theory of establishing these traits the right way from the start with everybody in your sphere and everybody in your circle. And what's amazing is our clients have started to respect that. Our clients have started to notice it. Our clients have started to support it. And when you are referred to people and they know that you are working on an Ironman or working on adoption and you're out of the country for 2 months, and then you're working on a nonprofit, they know your personal goals. They'll support you. And so they don't want to leave you. In fact, if you tell them, and we're going to discuss this once I get off my soapbox here, if you explain some of the scripts and dialogues with them as to why you're doing what you do on a daily basis, and you give them the scripts and the dialogues that, listen, Leslie is a part of our team, and she believes the same things we do, and she will take care of you just as well, if not better than we do, they'll believe you because you've backed it up over and over and over and over and over again. So if you guys today are in a life that you're not living, or if you guys today are in a what I would call a hamster wheel type of world, I invite you to step off the hamster wheel, okay, and get out there and start living the life you want to live. Because if you're sitting here and it's really hitting you at the heart at 9:30 this morning, and it's going, and my words are really hitting your heart and saying, oh my gosh, I really need this in my life, and I didn't really think about it, that's probably you. You need to change. You need to change between your ears, because that's where it starts first, with you. And then the people around you, and your family, or your supporters. Okay? Does everybody understand that? I'll hop off and now start teaching. I like to start with that because I'm very passionate about my family. I'm very passionate about my faith. I'm very passionate about my activities outside of real estate. And if I don't have the support around me, I'm not able to lead my passions. And so that's why I really like to put your mind in the same frame as where I'm at. Teamwork is truly coming together in a beginning. We're on this page, by the way, if anybody wants to read this with me. And teamwork is keeping together throughout the entire process and progress. Working together as success. All winning teams are goal-oriented. Teams like these win consistently because everyone connected with them concentrates on specific objectives at hand. They go about their business with blinders on. They are not distracted and have the squirrel mentality. Nothing will distract them from achieving their aims. Together, everyone achieves more. Again, together, everyone achieves more. We repeat this often in our office. Again, it's very easy, and I'm not going to stand up here and say that I'm not what I would call a sinner. There are days where I come out of the office and I'm in a really bad mood, or I couldn't get technology to work. I'm not a really great technology guy. I work off of this instead of the board. But I struggle with it. I'm a human being. I have problems in my life. I struggle daily with different things. Traditionally, it's technology, which sets me into a tailspin and gets me away from my focus and gets me away from my perspective. Well, that changed a couple of years ago when I realized I was almost 260 pounds and I needed to change. I needed to change my health. I took a little bit further than what the normal people take and went into the Ironman triathlon competition. And then just a year ago, not even a year ago, we set foot on the greatest soil in the world in Uganda, and we adopted 2 children, and we were gone for two months and 2 weeks. And it was the most eye-opening experience, and my perspective forever changed. Obviously, a lot of people think of Uganda as a third world country, which there are parts of it that are, but there's parts of it that are very modernized as well. But the point is that my perspective forever changed, and so again, I feel like it improved who I was. And so my technology challenges today are lessened. My technology changes have a different feel to them, where I don't get as frustrated as easily. And so my team knows that. But one of the things that I truly believe is that obviously we could not have gone for 2.5 months and left our business and still had an income if you didn't have the right people around you. Our team, while we were gone, just so you know, we sell about 100 homes a year, our team. Our average is around, well, right now it's $238,000 in Louisville for our team. I'm not what I would call an enormous producer. Now, I realize some people might be in the room thinking, I would love to sell 100 homes. I'd love to sell 50 homes a year. I'd love to sell 20 homes a year. I'm just saying that because we're busy. Okay? At 100 homes, we're busy. We're not at 1,500 like some people are in the world, but we're busy. And so my goal was to be able to maintain that level of activity while we were gone. And so that's why we had our team on the ground here in the States working diligently, and we were Skyping every so often because we did have Wi-Fi where we were staying, and so we Skyped and understood what was coming and what was going. But most of the time they were saying, Scott, go handle your family. We know your dreams. We know your goals. Go deal with the things that you have to deal with the Ugandan government. Go take care of that. We got this. We got this. And again, there are days where I couldn't handle it, so I had to Skype and I had to Facebook and I had to get on there but most importantly, I slept at night very comfortably, although it was very warm, very comfortably under my mosquito net, so we didn't get malaria, and it was a comfort that my team brought to me. And whether you are a team of 2 or 7 or 17, that level of comfort is extremely important. So we're going to get into this a little bit about who needs to be with you, because for us, it's about the who. It's not necessarily about the how. Does everybody understand that? Okay. So we're going to skip over this. This was just a little bit more about the class today. Obviously, you can read a little bit about that. But we're going to go into this page here. I don't have them numbered, I apologize. And so I have goals when I'm sitting in your seat, and I also have goals when I'm standing up here. When I'm up here, I like to help you learn and not just sit there and collect your 3 hours, which I realize is extremely important. But more important to me is that I hope you discover some items here that you can apply to your life. And so upon completion of this class, I want you to be able to do these 6 things. I want you to assess the desire to either start a team, join a team, I'm going to say get off a team, or stay as an individual agent. Number 2, if you choose to build a team, I want you to learn the process, to create a plan, and a generic, what I would call generic. I would love to answer everybody's questions in a very detailed format, but I'm going to give you some ideas to start a flow chart of strategies to build the team process. We're going to examine the different DISC personality profiles. Does anybody know what that is? Raise your hands if you have heard of that before. Good. So about half. That's good. So we're going to talk a little bit about what the DISC personality profiles are and how that can be applied to hiring and firing. We're going to discuss making it a win-win situation for both the team member as well as the team leader. We're going to discuss a little bit of money. So I hope that doesn't make you feel uncomfortable, but I'm going to give you some models to work with and some ideas to start with. I got an email from one of your members. I don't know if she's in the class or not, but I got an email and she really wanted to know some compensation plans, and which is exciting to talk with me about. And another email came in last night saying, are we at this board or another board? I didn't really know what that meant, but I said, I don't know what board you're going to, but I'm going to the Atlanta board. I won't tell who that was. Help you debunk some of the misconceptions or what I would call myth understandings of teams. And then a lot of that comes from being an individual realtor that has struggled working with teams in the past because they don't know who to go to for what. Raise your hand if you've been in that situation. Yeah, thank you for being the one. And then finally, I want to learn scripts in order to make your clients comfortable with working with a team. Because at the end of the day, our clients and our consumers are most important. They're the most important thing to our success, to our branding, to our future of who we are and how we do it with integrity that you start with. And with the realtor code of ethics that are out there, working with different realtors and working with our clients. That is the most important thing. More than anything today, I hope that you hear and understand that working with our clients, again, is the most important thing. It's not necessarily how smooth a transaction goes from realtor to realtor, but we still have to have the code of ethics of working with realtor to realtor. And there's a respect factor as a real estate agent that I personally believe that you have to have as a human being, because there are people who don't respect people, believe it or not. So, why teams? This is where we're at right here. Teams really became popular. Who's been in, before I go down this road, who's been in the business over 15 years? Raise your hand if you don't mind. 20? Don't you love it when they do this? First of all, thank you all for raising your hand. And thank you all for holding our ethics and holding the standards, I hope, that we have to abide by. So thank you so much for doing that and paving the way for us who have been in for 10 or years, somewhere in there. Teams started truly, I've done a little bit of work. There's no real history book into real estate and real estate trends, but I've done some reading, and they started tracking teams in the mid to late 90s. That's when you started seeing two people with late model Cadillacs get together and say, let's join up as Sam and Jim, or Gene and Samantha, or whatever their names were. And so they started to team up so they could go on. One person could go on vacation while the other person did. That's really what started teams, from what I've been investigating and talking with agents who have been in the business for a very long time. The other thing is every so often you would see a person, and her name is Jean Shine. She's out of Killeen, Texas, and Jean is a lady who's absolutely wonderful, and she's been in the business for over 30 years, and she wanted to live her life, and so she built her team with her family and with her children around her. And she's doing amazing numbers, but more importantly, she's doing amazing service to our military. It's Fort Hood, Texas, is the military base there, and she knows the commanders all the way up. And so she takes care of our military in that specific area. And so she's not only selling real estate, but she's serving the community. She's serving our country as a real estate agent, as a realtor. So teams, again, give us leverage. They give us leverage. Even in the 90s, they gave us opportunity to go on a vacation, to spend some time away. So that's not what they called it back then, but that's what it was. It didn't become popular until the mid-2000s to hear the word leverage, the early 2000s. Teams obviously give us the opportunity to have a brand behind us, much bigger than we are as an individual. I know many people, and there might be some in the room, who are the Jim Johns. I'm terrible at making up names. Jim Smith, the Jim Smith Real Estate Group. And they are an individual agent. But they do have a team behind them if they hire a photographer, a stager, home inspector. They can be part of your team. I don't have any problem with that at all, as long as you're serving the client and taking care of the other realtors in our industry. So teams really truly became this popular. It probably even more so than anything is people are starting to say, well, I'm going to join a team before they even get their license. You know, I want to join a team. I want to go to this team. I want to go to that team. I want to start with this group. I want to start with that group. There's companies that recruit. That, you know, hey, come and just join a team. We'll take care of you. Come and join a team. Come and join a team. Well, that's not necessarily fair, I think, either. And I'm in a company that's like that. And I don't think that it's very fair to either party, because what if that person is somebody who wants to start a team? What if they're that personality that can really take their business to the next level just by coming to a class like this? And that's why I'm here, because you might be that person. The other aspect is, and this is what I truly love, and again, this is not a bragging situation. I've learned how to focus on what I enjoy and how I like to spend my time. I've been fortunate enough to have 3 buyers in the last 3 years. Now, obviously, it's kind of a little different, but I've not taken more than 3 buyers in the last 3 years out to show property. I've done 2 open houses in the last 3 years. Now, obviously, we haven't just sold 3 buyers on our team. That's not my point. It's just that I don't have the patience, I don't have the skill set, and I don't have what I believe is the proper tools to work with buyers as best as some other people. Leslie's probably way better at working with buyers than I am. I come out of a house and go, so do you want to buy it? Well, there are people who actually know how to say that with style and class and say something along the lines of, so do you foresee yourself living in this home? Is this something that we should... I kind of like shove them into the corner and go, so do you want to buy it? Why not? Let's write it up. I want to go home. I don't want to be here. Sunday open houses are my favorite. Sitting there looking at the TV. NFL's on, looking at my fantasy team. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Now again, please understand, I am not trying to belittle an open house. That's not my point. I'm not trying to belittle Leslie, and I'm going to pick on you all day. You sat up front. A buyer specialist role or somebody who is an individual agent, that's not my point. It's just that I am very clear as to what I like to do in my life. And it's just that I'm very clear into my goals and how I need to get there. Well, for me, it's through listings. Okay? And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I achieve that. But through listings, it gives me the opportunity to work with you guys, all of you. If I have 10 listings out there right now, and you had 10 buyers, who's gonna be able to spend their day with their 10 listings versus their 10 buyers? She's not going to be able to take 10 buyers out. What's the best day? How many buyers can you take out if you're looking at 3 or 4 houses each, which might be on the low side? Now the market's kind of changing a little bit, but you know, I mean that's the ultimate goal, is to show, you know, less than 10 homes in a day to one buyer. And so if you have 3 buyers in a day, is that the max? Everybody always says 3, maybe 4 max. Whew, 4. That'd be a train wreck. I mean, that would be tough for anybody. Whether you love buyers and love talking houses and love House Hunter International on TVG or not, it doesn't really matter. That would be a hard day. That'd be a long day, especially if you didn't what? Write the contract. Okay? Now, we've been there. I've been there. We've all done it. And I'll probably do it again in my life at some point in time, but I'm trying to instill the tools in the team around me that aren't going to have to do that. So that's why teams are becoming more and more popular, is because people are being, what I think we should be all along, is honest with each other. That's my opinion. A lot of this class is my opinion, frankly, but I have to tell you that honestly, that's the key, is let's be honest with one another. Let's be honest with, I love to take buyers out, and I'm really good at it, so I'm going to go learn about it. I'm going to go to an ABR class, and I'm going to learn about how to represent buyers better and how to show fewer homes and find the home they love anyway. That's really being honest with yourself. Or becoming a listing agent on your team and saying, I want to go learn scripts and dialogues that get pricing down better, so I price it right, and get scripts better so I can help people with staging. That's truly being a specialist. Being a generalist is tough. It's tough. You get pulled every way, every which way. Louisville is nowhere near the size. It took me 55 minutes to go 10 miles today or something like that. It's nowhere near the size of this town. Who covers the... I'm an Atlanta real estate agent. I cover everything. Who would do that? You all might do that, and that's fine. I want you to think about that. That's hard. That's covering the entire city, and that's really hard. So something that I started with my team, I started farming. And as Maura explained in my bio, I started farming. Farming for me became leverage. I'm going to sell this neighborhood right here. I'm going to sell this area of town. I'm going to sell this street. However you want to name it, you can do that. I've been fortunate, and this is not a farming class, but again, I believe in leverage, and I believe in my team, and our team has sold 43 homes in one neighborhood. Here's the fun part. In 6 years, here's the better part. There's only 210 homes. We've sold one house 3 times. I can rely on it over and over and over and over again that I'm going to get 6 to 7 houses in that. I don't even know the people anymore. I used to live there 8, 9 years ago, but we don't know anybody anymore. But we are the expert. And so, again, honing in and focusing our efforts on one thing, our team has achieved that in that neighborhood. Now, my coach, because I coach with a couple of different people, says you need to go find 5 or 6 of those, more of those. And that's the goal. Again, I have 2. There's 2 different neighborhoods that we have. And I've only been in the business 10 years, and it took me a good 3 to figure some of this stuff out. But that's really what leverage and teamwork is about, because we do, Thanksgiving food drives, we do clothing drives, we do shredding events where we bring in a shredding truck, we bring in a dumpster where we bring in a dumpster for a weekend, where and we have a banner that says Team Panella loves Wolf Trace. It's just those types of things until the HOA says we and then we start kind of massaging that relationship. To us, the opportunity is there, but we couldn't do it without leverage. I couldn't organize all of those things. Who's going to be able to organize all those things while we're taking our 4 buyers out and have 17 listings now? And that's where everybody's going, and by the way, you've got to up your Google so you can get to page 1, and you got to do this. And I mean, it's like, golly, everybody wants a piece of me. So how do you put that wall up? And that's why I built a team. And that's why I built kind of a wall around me. I give my email out freely, scott@teampanella.com. That's actually much more free than this. This is my cell phone. I don't give that out as freely because this is my squirrel. This is the thing. I look at it, I'm like, oh gosh, it's ringing. I need to answer it. But honestly, now I'm to the point where if that phone rings, now something's going on, because I have guards in front of me who pick it up, and some individual agents are like, golly, I can never get a hold of you. And I'm trying to explain, listen, please understand that I don't handle that sector of my business. And they're like, what? Why don't you? And so to the individual agent out there that struggles with people like myself, or struggles with the fact that, please respect that that's how I do my business, and you're choosing not to do it that way, and that's fine. I'll respect you as well. But don't make it harder than it has to be. Email's fine. Texting's okay. Working with my assistant is just fine. She's extremely capable. So, again, if you instill that and do business the right way over and over and over again, and at the end of the day, when your transaction is finished with that agent who was as frustrated as they could get at the beginning, and they say at the end, hey, thank you so much for doing business with me, I love it. There's nothing better than I've just trained that person to understand how a team works. So if you have a team out there that's kind of a scatterbrained disaster and your systems are terrible, yeah, it probably does suck to do a transaction with you. And that's being honest. I mean, it's probably harder than it has to be. We're all trying to be something we're not. So back off a little bit. Bring it down back to you a little bit. Get in the trenches again. Admit some of your failures and build it back up the proper way. So if you're a team member now, and you're a member of a team where some of those things fail, I challenge you to really have a perspective that you can change, because that's part of the problem too. Some people think, oh, it's their problem, not mine. But in all reality, a true team is honest with one another. A true team shares its successes together. A true team shares its failures together. And so if you all have what we would call a team meeting, some people call it a retreat. So some people call it a reset. I've seen that. That's where all of that really truly comes out. And so if you bring it out in a respectful way, and you bring out the discussion that, hey, listen, we're having a really hard time with working with individual agents, or frankly with other teams, our communication is terrible, and there's a problem here, fix it. Fix it. Figure out the way to turn that to the positive and make that next transaction with those people better. Does everybody understand that? Okay, thank you. So the idea of teams, again, the question is why teams? I just went into 10 minutes or 15 minutes of why people are doing teams. Because one, they don't want to be a generalist. They want to be a specialist. Two, they want to leverage their life, whether you're a team leader or a team member. Three, they want to focus their efforts on building a better process. Because if you're an individual agent and you're struggling to keep up with those 4 different showings plus your listings, that process is failing for you, which then leads to our clients, which then leads to our other realtors and our peers. And so that's where the problem is. So that's why teams have started to come together and form. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about that, what we covered right there? We will take a lot of questions at the end, just so you guys know. I'm very transparent, as you could probably tell. And so if you guys have any questions at all, I will be more than happy to share everything and anything except for my cell phone number. Yeah. It's really hard, and I understand that. What's your name? Mark. Okay, Mark, I understand that, and first of all, I appreciate the comment and slash question. And to be honest with you, there's about 87 or 88 of you guys in here. I appreciate you guys staying here and listening, because honestly, education is the key. It really is. I will tell you that one of my favorite calls is when I'm disarmed. By you, are you an individual agent? Okay, so when Mark calls me and says, hey, Scott, and I think that this is a very respectful thing to do, or sends me an email and says, hey, Scott, you can get my phone at my office, by the way. You can leave a message. I'm not like that unapproachable. But but if you called my office line or sent me a message and just came from your heart and said, hey, Scott, this is Mark. We're really trying to get through this transaction. I've noticed a little bit of turnover on your team, which I can appreciate, and I understand that happens on teams. But one thing that I would like to do is have one specific person that I could get to and work with during this transaction. Who would that person be? If you question them and just saying, I realize that Anna works with this buyer's agent, or works with this listing, and how do I get in? And I realize that you use a showing. Do you guys use a showing service here? Is it across the board? No. Okay. So Todd. So Todd, one thing that we recently went to is we have showing time on our new MLS. We just changed MLSs. Can you all imagine doing that? Yeah. Oh, you do? That's interesting. Okay, so my point, let me just tell you about Louisville, but we just changed, and it was actually for the better, and it was kind of grumpy at first, but everybody got through it, and everybody's there, and it was some of the best things that came out of it, because we were honest with one another. What's successful, what's failure, that kind of stuff. And so one of the things that we did is showing services came in 2010. CSS was the very first showing service that came into Louisville. And people were, it was a debacle, okay? Because people didn't even know what that is, There are still people who don't know what it is, but showing time is now integrated with our MLS. And so you can just click buttons and kind of go through it like that. And so that made things a little bit easier, I will tell you, as a service. And there are some companies that choose not to do it. Some of our higher-end companies require their listing agent to be at every showing, and some people cringe. But you know what? If you respect that and just say that's how they choose to do business, if you could just meet them at the door and just say, Tom, I realize you're with XYZ Luxury Company and you want the best representation for your listing agent. I can understand that. If you could just do me a favor and let me have 15 minutes with my client alone in the house, and then you can present the house to them, I'd be more than happy to show the rest of this house to them. How easy is that? The problem is we get going. I get on my soapbox a lot when I teach, so I apologize. The problem is that we get going so fast we forget about being rude. Or being nice. All you have to do is be nice. Dalton said that, by the way, in Roadhouse. So, all you have to do is be nice. It's a really simple thing. It's not that hard. And be respectful. We are all human beings. We all have feelings. Even some of the people who you don't think have feelings because they're cold as ice, they have feelings. And they have an opinion. The key is to be nice. And so if you are having a problem with one of your peers, be nice about it. Don't come at it with an attitude. The problem with texting is that it can come across with an attitude. The problem with email is that it can come across as attitude. So if I get an email, I want you to go down this road because I know there's somebody saying, well, I'm not going to be able to talk to you because I don't have your email address or your cell phone number. From me and from my perspective, I will call you back and say, I'm really sorry and I appreciate your email. Is there anything that I can do to make this a little bit more clear with you? Now, I'm up here and I understand that and I'm on stage. And it's not always like that. I sometimes call people and go, what? Why don't you understand? This is how I do my business. Click. That's the reality is that people get busy. Again, we get busy, we forget to be nice. So I want you to remember a couple of things about working with those agents, but if you just are honest with them and be disarming. Be disarming. There's so much road rage out there. Why do we have to bring it into the office? People call road rage just phone rage and text rage and email rage. There's just so much rage, period. Just be nice and be approachable, too. And that's the thing. Yes, there's 10,000 of you. How many in Atlanta? 8. So 8,000 of you, and there's 86 in here or somewhere in there. I understand. Yeah, I understand that. But this is the best I can do. I wish I could grab all 8,000. Mara does too. You do too. Everybody does. And there's people in the room on their phones now, right now, who aren't listening. And that's okay. Because that's how they choose to do business. But the reality is that if you approach them and say, hey, listen, I appreciate this transaction we're doing, and I'm really, really trying to work with you on this. Is there anything that I could do to make the process easier for you? Who doesn't love to be served? I mean, Chick-fil-A's here, right? Who doesn't love to go to Chick-fil-A? Really? And I'm not talking about the food. Sorry. Okay. Shouldn't have said that. Let's just say there was a company that had the service habits. No, that's not a good one either. I don't know. I'm a losing proposition. Nordstrom, thank you. Nordstrom, I got a yes out of Nordstrom. Point is, okay. I'm being transparent. I'm referring to, if you put your politics and feelings aside sometimes, if you truly look at the meaning of what they want and what Truett Cathy wanted as far as the service is concerned, he really wanted the best chicken sandwich. Let's be honest, okay? And I'm not trying to combat here. That's obviously not. And they wanted to be able to say, "How may I serve you?" And Nordstrom's the same way. I mean, it's just a different feel. So I apologize if anybody's offended there, but at the same time, that's how I feel. Okay, that's just something that we have to get through. So, so being nice, being respectful, Mark, that's it goes a long way. Okay, and there's people at Chick-fil-A that need to be nice too. Okay. Does that answer your question as best I can? But if you control your buyer or your seller, which you can do, Mark. Okay. You can do nicely too. So I'm going to go into what a team looks like. Oftentimes people are saying, "Oh, you're talking about teams today. What does that look like? And who's involved? And what is each person's role?" That kind of thing. So I'm going to go into this right here on this page. This is a copy of the system that I use, and it's from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And this is just a copy of the system that I choose to use. Okay, there are different systems that are out there, but this one is very clear, in my opinion, as far as what it looks like to go from an individual realtor out there to what I would call a 7th level team or a group of people. Okay, so on the very top, on the left-hand side, obviously, as an individual agent, it's the sales and marketing. Who's responsible for that? We are, as an individual, as well as the administration and processing. You're responsible for everything, from start to finish. And there are people in this room who probably are in that situation, and that's awesome. That's where everybody starts, mostly. Then you realize, oh my gosh, my life's starting to spin out of control because I'm starting to do around 35 transactions a year, roughly. And I don't necessarily go into volume when it comes to when you hire, because it doesn't matter whether you're selling a $4 million place or a $40,000 place. It's still one transaction, and the same stuff has to happen, mostly. You might have some inspections on the 40 million and no inspections on the 4, but you know what I mean by that, or the 4 million and the 40,000. But mostly, it's the same stuff. And so the same paperwork needs to be put in the same place, needs to be scanned in here, needs to be transferred here. That starts to take time. And that's where you start to go, okay, oh my gosh, real estate is running my life, and I'm not running my life. And I'm not living the life I want to live. So in comes the opportunity to hear, and when you hear this, lights are going off, going, yes, I think I need to hire an assistant. What does that look like? Now, personal assistants have been around for a very long time in Hollywood, but they haven't been around that long in the real estate world. If you really truly look at it, they've been around since the early 90s, maybe a little bit earlier than that, but mostly, again, in the mid-90s, the idea of adding somebody to help you out is when this really started. And everybody starts with their first assistant. and that first assistant has no idea what they're doing, or if you are fortunate enough to hire somebody who has a really good grasp of it, and I'm going to go into who you should look for your first assistant. If you truly look at what your first assistant needs, they need everything just like you just learned. So you're going through your next process of teaching somebody that you have just gone through as an individual agent. So if you get them through a transaction, if you take them through a transaction, if you actually put them in the car with you, and I highly recommend this if you're an individual agent looking to hire your first assistant, and you go through the process that we're going to go through today, and you show them on a daily basis, have them follow you. Don't leave them at the office and say, get on the computer, do some of this. They don't have any idea what they're doing there either. So I believe in having them follow you, or having them follow somebody on your team. If you are a team member or a team leader who already has a team and you're hiring again, have them follow somebody that you want them to shadow so they can see what we do. And just listen and talk and listen to how nice we are. It has everything to do with education. Education, education, education. That is so important when it comes to every position in the world, in my opinion. That is key. So the more they can learn by listening to us, by watching us, the better they will become as an assistant. Now, we're going to go into how some people actually don't learn that way, and some people do learn that way. But we're going to touch on that. And some people learn in a very slow, methodical, exact way. And then there are some people who learn in a crazy, chaotic way. And you have to decipher who you've got before you even hire them, and we're going to discuss that. But my point to the first assistant is that they are your foundation. They are a pillar in your business. And you have to look at them as a team member who is a pillar in your business, not just a secretary or not just an administrative person who you're going to try out for the next 90 days, although I highly recommend only the 90-day time period and then a review after that. But you have to look at them and invest into them like they are a source of your business and they are going to be a lifeline of your business. Does everybody understand that? Because they are now part of your team. And they are part of your business. So have them be a part of it. Don't just have them be a little fly on the wall who happens to run a copy machine. Dive into them. Care for them if you're looking to do this and do this what I would call the right way. There are too many people who hire the wrong person. They hire fast and fire slow. It needs to be the opposite. Bunch of ahas just went off. Oh, that's what I did. Yeah, you have to hire slow and fire fast. Okay? That's why you have, and we're going to talk about that, a 90-day trial period. And for 90 days, a blip on a map. Seems long, but really it's a blip on the map. 90 days if you dive into somebody and they truly get it and you really enjoy it, and you gave them a true fair shot. I'm not talking a week and a half in and they aren't quite getting it. That's not enough time. That's not being fair to that person. Illegal activity, different story. Moral activity, different story. If that happened in the first week and a half. I'm talking about somebody who's cared for you, who is caring and trying to do the business the right way. So 90 days is what I would consider a good trial period for anybody. Buyer specialist, if you're looking to hire somebody that's a buyer specialist, if you're looking to hire somebody who's taking your listings, we're going to talk a little bit about it, what it looks like for a showing assistant, somebody who's only, literally, job there is to open up a door. Do you guys have those here? Raise your hands if you've heard of that, showing assistant. I'm getting some no's also. So we're going to talk about what a showing assistant looks like. An ISA. Go ahead. It's dating. It's dating before we kiss. That's what it is. You're going to test them. It's a formal process. It's not like, hey, this is kind of what you do here. It's a formal process, and you take them through a formal process of what that looks like. Weekly, you're meeting every Friday and going, how'd this week go for 90 days? Weekly, you're going, okay, what's our goals for next week? What did we achieve this week? What didn't we achieve? Why didn't we achieve it? What did you succeed at? What did you fail at? What do you feel like you could improve on our team? What do you think that the team could improve on you? Those are questions that you have every week. Okay? The problem is that we're a Craigslist society, and we get somebody off Craigslist that says, yeah, I need a job. And you're going, yeah, I need an assistant. Okay, let's do this. You know? The other thing is, and I'm gonna blow my surprise, the number one place to find talent is your past clients. Okay? That's your number one place. Where it is the person who emailed me here. Maybe. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Scott Panella. Nice to meet you. She emailed me and she said, "Where do I find people? I can't hire." I'm sorry to do this. I'm not. It is. Yeah. There's people who are like, "How do I find good people off of Craigslist?" Or I mean, not off of Craigslist. Sorry, that's not what I meant. Besides Craigslist, where else is there? The number one place is your past clients in your sphere. Those are the number one places right there. Okay, Facebook is another. That's your sphere. Those are your good people. That's who you hang with. That's who you understand. That's who you believe in. So it's not just a random person who happened to maybe fail or maybe not fail a drug test recently. You know, I mean, that's what Craigslist has come down to, guys. I just hired somebody and I got 78 resumes that had one or more spellings out of 143 resumes in 5 days. And I'm in Louisville. I can't imagine what that's like here. You know, and it's hard. It's hard. So we're gonna discuss that a little bit. And I'm jumping ahead, but that's what you have to do. You have to find the right assistant. You have to find the right people, and we're going to talk about this in much more detail. No. And we'll discuss that. No, they aren't. Thank you. And if you guys, I have no problem at all with questions in the middle of this stuff. So no. Sometimes I might defer it. Sometimes I might say we'll talk about that. But no. Yes. She asked, are all of the people you hire licensed? And the answer is no. And that's a little bit on purpose. It's a little bit broad on purpose. We'll talk about the rest of the details shortly. Yeah. I've run into problems with that, okay? And I'm not, that if you've had great success with it, all the better. But I've run into problems with that because what happens is that if Johnny has a cough, it's holy cow, I can't do my job today. Okay? Now that was a little dramatic and not sensitive, but I told you I'm not that great with sensitivity sometimes. And so the reality is sometimes I have these issues with, I just got a call from school, I've got to go. And that's a problem for me, you know, and that's just me. Okay? And I'm not saying I'm not sensitive to that, but that's why I like to hire somebody who has somebody at home that can go run and do that, if that's the case. Or somebody that has somebody else that can run and do that in a more flexible position. Okay? That might be the salesperson in their family, and you're hiring the administrative staff. Okay, that's just my opinion on that, Mark. But again, everybody's going to find something out there that has an asterisk that says, I've had success with this, and I'm standing up here coming from an opinion. Again, remember, an opinion, experience, thoughts that have succeeded well in the past, and so that's where that's coming from. Yes, number 2 question. Uh-huh. $30 to 35 transactions a year. 30 to 35 a year is a little bit more of a specific science behind it. It points to that pretty clearly. There's a couple of different books out there that talk about that. That's when you start to lose traction with your clients. That's when you start to lose traction with other realtors, and it just becomes this, oh, I forgot to do this, I forgot to do that. So that's about the number. Okay? And again, doesn't matter whether you're talking 40,000 or 4 million. It's about the units. Okay? So those people who sell 12 homes a year for 45 million, I love you. You shouldn't be here. I'm kidding. That was on film. I'm kidding. No, I'm jealous of those people. We all are. You know where I'm going with that. I'm kidding. So one of the number one mistakes I see, and I call it a mistake as much as it is it's kind of an oops, in my opinion, is that people then, once they have that assistant, they say, okay, I need to pay for that assistant now. I need to go get busy, and I need a buyer's agent, and I need another listing agent because I got to go pay for that person. That can be a problem. I personally think that you need a stronger foundation than that. And your business will show you that you need a stronger foundation than that. So if you really look at it, the next level, the 3rd level, it says marketing and administrative. Next level is transaction coordinator. Now, they're 2 totally different things. Okay? Transaction coordinator is somebody that needs a call from Mark that says, Mark, congratulations, we're doing a deal together. You have the buyer, I have the seller. We're here to help. Just want to introduce myself. My name is Scott, and I'm on Mara's team. I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be that person that you need to talk to when it comes to this transaction and how this transaction will proceed. You need to talk to Scott when it comes to negotiating any of the repairs and any of the negotiating items. That's it. Thanks so much. Look forward to doing a business with you. It's a brilliant disarming. That's a brilliant email, a phone call. It's very warm. It's easy to do. If you are running a team and you're not doing that, you need to do it. You need to be courteous to the other agent because they might not have worked with a team in the past, and you got to remember that. There's 8,000 agents here. I don't know how many teams there are. I'm gonna guess, or people who are a part of a team. I'm gonna guess maybe around 1,000, 2,000. I have no idea. There's no telling. But that's just a random guess based off of what I know in our market. So, our office, my wife and I own an office, and so we have 187 agents in our office, and there's roughly 50 people, 55 people, given today at 10:30. On or part of a team, okay? So that's kind of what that looks like. So the transaction coordinator is somebody that will literally help with that transaction, okay? Now, the marketing / administrative aspect of things, that's somebody who's writing a blog for you. That's somebody who is doing the paperwork inside the office. If you guys are a member of an office, of a different brokerage. If you're running your own brokerage, then it's probably the person, the administrative and marketing is probably the person who will answer your phone. The transaction coordinator is exactly that, and this is where people get a little bit lost. Because it's a transaction coordinator. That's what that person does. They do not answer the phone for the office. Now, at this stage, at this level I'm talking about, remind you. Right above it, they are answering the phone. They're doing everything. But right below it, they're the transaction coordinator. You are running probably around 70 transactions a year. And you're doing the transaction coordination. Does everybody understand that? This is not somebody who is working with the phone guy who happens to come in, or the computer guy because you're having a glitch that day. This is a transaction coordinator. This can often be somebody maybe virtually, okay? This is what we're starting to see, a little bit of a trend in the business. Somebody who is working in Kansas, or yes, the Philippines, who is working a transaction and taking care of the transaction details for you as an agent. Does everybody understand that? And that person still, whether they're in the Philippines, whether they're in Philadelphia, or whether they're in Phillip Park, I don't know, I made that up, locally. If they're locally and they're not in your office, then that's okay. They still need to send that email to Be Nice, and that says, hey, I'm here for you. And I'm going to be taking care of the detail of the transactions. Because if you train them right, leaders of your team, if you train that virtual assistant properly, and you train them to be nice, and you train them to take care of those details, they will do that. And if they don't, they might not be the right fit for your team. Go ahead. Yep. No. I mean, you can do either or. I personally believe that we are in the United States and we need to keep jobs here, and that we hire, and I'll be the first person to admit, yes, I went offshore for a little bit, and then I heard somebody, Lee Brown, she was in this venue a couple months ago, say, you know what? I've been thinking about this, and I think that we need to hire our own people in our own country. And I completely agree with it. So I stopped and now going the route of hiring domestically. So that's my opinion, okay? But no matter what your opinion is, that person needs to be a transaction coordinator, virtually or not, okay? Yes? Your first assistant, there's somebody, they could be, if you felt like they succeeded, they didn't disappear, they just went into one of the areas that they specialize in or not. Okay? This is an example of how I was when I was an individual agent. I knew that I didn't want to work with buyers as much, and so I wanted to hire the right people to take care of my buyers for me. So I went in the role of a listing specialist. This is an example of somebody who said, you know what, I love the transaction part of the business. So if you're going to hire somebody, I want to do that part. And you need to go backfill your assistant, which would be the marketing administrative person.
So it goes from
No, it could go either or. They could go from first assistant to transaction coordinator if that's what they choose, if that's what they're good at, if that's what they like as their job as the first assistant. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Or if they really hate or dislike or aren't very good at the transaction coordination aspect of things, and they want to stay your assistant and they want to go into the administrative marketing role, that's when they go in over here, and now they are no longer taking care of their transaction coordination. Okay? No, that is, they go into one of those slots. Yep, they go into one of those slots. Yes. You do. They start to be a specialist. Okay? They start to be a specialist. You start to focus in on, if you really look at it, there is somebody that will eventually become the lead assistant or the lead administrative person who's in charge of 2 or 3 lead coordinations and stuff like that. So if you look at the bubble, the way they go down like that, okay. So I wanted to really show you what this looks like from an individual agent all the way down to the 7th level, and that's not going to happen in a year, okay. It's not going to happen in a couple years, guys. I want you to understand that there are levels at which when you start to fail, when you start going down, and then you hire somebody, that's when you're going to have another breakthrough. Okay? Because what happens is you start to lose business. You start to hear complaints. You start to see live reviews from true clients on Zillow, on Facebook, on wherever, where they give reviews. And what happens is your business starts to go, oh gosh, we're kind of stinking this up a little bit. And you might be there. So you might need to hire that person. You need to be honest with yourself. But you can't hire them if you don't have the money. So you have to financially be in a position to hire them. Or do it yourself, again, the right way. That's the problem that I have seen the most, is when people aren't honest with themselves and they are not doing the job that they be doing properly. Because they just wanted to give it up. I will be honest with you. I went through, after that bio, we've hired somebody else. Okay? We had 3 buyer specialists and 1 listing coordinator, listing specialist. And we are no longer in relationship with the listing specialist. Well, who's going to do the job? I am. So I told my wife, because she's running the office, but she's also obviously a large part of our team. She's not actively in sales right now. But I told her, I said, listen, I'm going to be back in the trenches a little bit. I kind of go in and out of the trenches. Trenches meaning on the ground with our buyers, with our sellers, whatever it needs to take to get the job done and done right. And so I have to sometimes be honest with myself and say, what do I need to do to get my business back on track? Well, for me, it was approaching our team, again, honesty when it comes to everything, failures when it comes to everything, we're sharing all of it. I needed to get back into listings. So we went from this summer 35 listings at one point in time down to like 8. And I'm going, and I'm kind of there now because we run in a 45-day, 60-day cycle, right? The way our business runs. And so now I'm feeling the financial crunch in my business. I have to pull back a little bit, okay? Because I can see what happened. Well, the problem is I didn't get into the trenches soon enough. Be honest with you, and so now I have to hop back in and get that going again. It's kind of put fuel to the fire. Okay, it's just a constant engine. You got to get people helping you shove that coal in there, if that makes sense. Okay, so I'm not going to go through every single bubble here, and we will be taking a break here shortly, just for you guys crossing your legs. I'm not going to go through every single bubble here, but I want you to understand that the first 3 bubbles, in my opinion, are extremely important to the foundation. Actually, the first, well, of course the first 3, but I would go as far as saying the first 4 levels are the number 1 foundation items to your success or failure of building a team. Okay? And the reason I say that is because too many people just go in and say, hey, I've got more buyers than I know what to do with. I know. Can you just help me? Can you just help me? I've got more buyers than I know what to do with. Well, if you control your clients, Mark, and if you go in and you say, listen, I would like for you to be a part of our team, but I want you to learn the proper scripts and dialogues, and we want to show you the right homes that will fit your family. Would you agree to work with us? And we're going to choose to work with you. And this is how we're going to work as a team, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. And if you do those things, you can truly build a team that is worth all the weight in the world when it comes to your life and you living your life. Yes. And my opinion is you guys and you might love buyers, and you also might love sellers, and that other person, he or she, might love buyers and might love sellers too. That's fine. Don't separate what pays the business, okay? But the people behind you, you guys need to put your heads together, whoever that person is, to hire the right person over here. I agree. The only I disagree with how you said it. You said you manage together. I personally feel that this person, your main assistant, needs to report to one person only. That way they're not getting their signals crossed. Okay. But then all of a sudden, if this person says, "Well, I don't know, because Kelly and Tom told me this, and Kelly told me this," okay, now we have to have a very honest meeting. Remember, Tom, you're not supposed to butt in on this. Get out. This is how we want to go. You two, whoever that is. I will tell you that a lot of partnerships, and this is not a lot of partnerships in real estate don't always work. You've seen it. Most partnerships fail. Okay? Because we are all wired as realtors. A lot of us are wired the same. And so then one person starts going, "Wait a minute, I'm doing all the work here. Wait a minute. These are all my listings. Wait a minute. I've had a huge year, and then I'm splitting my business over here." A lot of them fail. Okay, the glory of that is, the idea of that is beautiful, but at some point in time, something changes, and there's this weighted system of going, who's doing what. Now, I know personally the exception to the rule. I know a great family who has literally 4 people, 2 husbands, 2 wives. They form together. All of their money pools into one place. They live next to one another. It's like freaking harmony, okay? Doesn't normally, that's the asterisk, it doesn't normally exist like that, okay? So be careful with that, and be very clear and be very honest and say to one another, "Listen, most likely this will fail." And that's okay. Let's try to learn from it. Let's try to do something together. And if you're that exception and you're sitting here going, "I'm the exception," then that's awesome. And that's how you choose to do your business. I think that's awesome. And I will respect that all day long. But mainly when it comes to partnerships or even teams, when you have a couple of head honchos involved, my wife and I together, like I literally was running the team ragged at one point in time, and she goes, "I need to take over." And I'm like, "No, you don't. Stay out." And then I had to kind of come to the realization that, yeah, she needed to take over. So does that answer your question? Okay. So just to finish this part up, and then we're going to dive into the DISC a little bit of who to hire, is that the top 4 levels, okay? That lead buyer's agent. There's a lot of people that do that very quickly because you're a licensed seat and you can fog a mirror. Okay? They do that very quickly. That is a situation where if you want to get a buyer specialist, if you want to hire that person, we're going to talk about this in a minute, but if you want to hire that person, you need to make sure that they are willing to sit in the passenger seat and not take the driver's wheel, because I see that a lot. I see people say, "Oh, I've got Sherry as my buyer specialist," and the next thing I know, Sherry's trying to run the team. So, hold on. This is not Sherry Panella. This is Scott Panella. I'm sorry. This is not Sherry's team. This is Scott Panella's team. This is how we're going to run it. When we first started, we originally said this was how it's going to run, and you're trying to take over. You got to be honest and be nice. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about this? Again, this is just one model that I choose to use in my systems and whatnot. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to get back into something. Tom. They are ultimately supposed to get to the top of leading the assistants, yes. They don't necessarily want, is that what you mean? Like, yes, because ultimately, and I'll show you why, because you'll go through this test over here, you're not hiring that person for a sales and marketing spot, or I'm sorry, a sales position. Okay, so if you can hire that right person that literally wants the desire and has the desire to be in charge of the entire marketing, what I call the marketing division of our team, our administrative division of our team, that person can literally start to, the cream rises to the top, and that person can take care of all of that. That's what you're looking for. That's the ideal person who's willing to see bigger and be a part of something bigger. Because hiring the person who goes, no, I don't have any goals. There are people like that. Don't laugh. There are people like that. And there are people, I will be honest with you, I just hired somebody, and she was beat down at a law firm as an assistant. She didn't know to think about goals. All she did was show up and get a paycheck for 2 weeks. She didn't think like this at all, guys. There's a lot of people who don't. There's a ton of industry. There's a ton of people in this world. Don't forget that. It doesn't surround around you or me. There's a lot of people out there. And so if you notice that the right trait, that's why you have to go through these systems and these questions to discover that person and peel back those onions. Now, history repeats itself. And so if they've gone through 5 jobs since January, we don't have a problem. But we hired somebody literally who was like, I've been at this position for 10 years. I've never been asked these questions before. I don't know. Can I get back with you because I've never thought about it? And then she comes back very confidently and says, I've been thinking about that dream, and I've got to be honest with you. I wish I could go to Florida. I've never seen a beach. You know what kind of impact you can have on that person's life? Wow, that's a big deal. So, that's kind of the stuff that you're looking for is the core of people, not always they're outside. Now, I'm not saying that you don't look at that because, again, history repeats itself. But the reality is that you've got to look into the person's soul, if you would. I mean, that's a little hard to do that I talk, but but that's kind of that's what I would look for. Yes. Yes, because what takes more time, listings or buyers? No question, but the market also changed. And so when we had 18 closings in July, we didn't have it. I wasn't throwing enough coal in, and the person that we're no longer in business with, we're no longer in relationship with, wasn't doing it either. And that's the reason why I'm wondering I'll talk about as to why you don't want 10 listing specialists out there over here feeding the coal. I'll talk about that here in a minute. Is that what you're getting at? Is that your question? I just want to make sure I'm very clear on that. Clarity is power, so I just want to make sure I understand. Yes. Correct. And we are no longer in relationship with that person. And so I didn't notice that early enough, and so I wasn't feeding it, and she wasn't feeding it. And so that's why it tailed off. Now we had some buyer closings, of course, coming in August, but our listing inventory just sunk because I wasn't going on enough. Okay, we can talk more about that. Okay, is there any other questions? If not, we're going to take a 15-minute break. We will be back at 6 after. 6 after. Yes. 3 and 7 at the time. Now they're 3 and 8. And no, so I have yes, brothers. They're 3, 8, 8, and 9. All boys. No, my wife went over in.
Okay. It wasn't about the politics, it was about the service.
Okay, we're going to get started again. Okay, so a couple people came up to me on the break, which I appreciate and I have no problem at all, but before I move on, I do like to address a couple things. Somebody asked me the charity that we started, or the name of our nonprofit. It is give-a-goat.com. Goat.com. The guy who owns giveagoat.com without the hyphens is an egotistical man who doesn't appreciate human life, I don't think. Honestly, he was so rude to me, it was unbelievable. I was just trying to explain to him what we do. So, and then somebody said, what does that do? So I'm taking 30 seconds of commercial. Basically, what we have done is started a donating dairy goats to different organizations who run charitable organizations in Uganda. It's very similar to Send a Cow or what I was going to say is heifer.com. It's very similar to that. It's just a little bit more focused on a specific area, a little bit more from the ground up. As I said, my technology skills are not phenomenal, so the website's not amazing, but it's a very grassroots organization. We've given, and I've got 10 more seconds on this, we've given about 18 goats. One orphanage has not bought formula, which is a huge thing, since December of last year, so it's kind of fun to say. So thank you. That's not why I'm here, but I appreciate that. A couple other things. One, and you know, here's the thing, is that I'm very honest with you guys, obviously. I'm very transparent. I want you to understand a couple of things. One, I'm not offended by questions or statements by you guys. And two, I don't judge others by their questions and statements in regards to teams and respect and that kind of thing. So one thing that I want you to understand is that I fully respect an individual agent, and I will not judge, nor will I have team members judge people who do not have teams or have support systems or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about doing the business in a way that I choose to do business and how I fund my life and my dreams. Okay? So please understand, as an individual agent, if you're sitting there, I'm not saying this is the only way you have to do business. That's not my point. It's just dreams and my aspirations and my goals are expensive, and I need to fund that. And in order to do some of these things and provide the customer service that I want to provide to the agents and the clients, I needed to do more. And I ended up doing more transactions. And the next thing I know, and I'm going to talk about this as far as where this comes from and why I started this process, is in 2006. I was to about a 38 unit year, and our volume was a little bit higher that year, and I had a lot of money in the bank, but I didn't start an LLC, and I didn't have any employees, and I didn't pay any taxes, and then the tax man cometh. Because the tax man always cometh. Always. And no matter who you are or what you are, we obviously have to pay that. And I have no problem at all paying my taxes. None. As in, I don't enjoy it, but it's something that we have to do. I didn't know to. Honestly, I know it sounds extremely ignorant, but I just thought I could write off all my business, and there was enough there. And the next thing I know, I get my 1099, And I'm like, oh my gosh, I made a lot of money. I didn't know what to do. I didn't spend it. So I'm going to tell you that when you get to around 30 to 35 transactions, you're going to get to a place mentally where I think that it's a really vulnerable spot. And so you have to really look at what you're doing in your life personally and professionally and how things are going. You have to constantly review them to determine, okay, I need to really mentally get in the process of hiring an assistant and hiring that first assistant. What does that look like? What does that look like? And when I said, somebody asked me earlier, like, could you explain to them as far as the money is concerned? And I didn't just, okay, how I'm going to hire somebody. I had to evaluate my finances, okay? So the very first thing that I did, and I'm just going to go through this step-by-step process for you so you can understand, is that I started an LLC. Okay, that was the very first thing that I did, because at that point in time, now I'm a company. Okay, so now I have to separate my finances from personal to business. Okay, personal's over here, business over here. Okay, because let me tell you, I was like this, and then that way, and there's probably people that have been like that or are like that now, and it's not a very fun place to be. It's really uncontrolled. It's not very clear, and you have this sense of, oh my gosh, I'm a mess. I'm a mess. How many times have you said I'm a mess? Don't answer that. But I mean, I've said that so many times, and so financially, my wife and I had to look at ourselves, going, what are we doing? What are we doing? And this is in 06. This is after a year in the business, and so I kind of had to look at it and say, okay, well, I don't even know what I'm making. How do you know if you have a business? Has anybody seen Shark Tank? Okay, love the show, honestly. I do. It's so repetitive. It's the craziest thing in the world, and obviously it's some of it's for drama. But what I learned from that is more than anything, I learned from that when they see these presentations and they say, well, what's your business worth? What's your valuation? And they figure out all these numbers and the whole thing. And a lot of people give out their opinion, and at the end of the day, they're like, well, what's your net number? and they don't know it. Or it's only like $10,000 and they evaluated their company at $1.5 million. You know, and my favorite statement, I think either Mark Cuban or the bald guy in the middle who's a jerk sometimes, but he's accurate a lot, says, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. And there's a lot of professional hobbyists in real estate. And that's where, obviously Shark Tank was after 06, but there's a lot of professional hobbyists, and it kind of took me back to 06, and that I became this guy who was like, okay, I have this business, but it's so unorganized, I couldn't prove anything, I didn't know what was what, and the next thing I know, I'm just sitting on a tax bill of $36,000 that I just paid off last year. Very candid, very transparent person. Okay? Okay, I'm more than happy to admit that. I had a tax problem, okay? Now, obviously, because at some stage of the game I had to go, well, wait a minute, I have to pay that off. So I have to take $30 of every 100 and put towards that tax bill. But by the way, I'm in a new year, and so I have to take another $30 and take that for this year, and now I have 40 out of every 100 to live my life and run my business. At some stage of the game, I had to realize which way I was going to go, and I needed to figure out how to pay that off. I mean, the pain was high enough, okay? The pain, people react to pain. Buyers do, sellers do. The pain's not high enough for some buyers sometimes. Okay? And we react to pain. For me, my pain was in my wallet. And then it also happened to become what I call my biggest devil in my life, is that, ironically, is that money was my biggest devil. It was one of these things that kind of controlled me, and I always felt like, oh, I need more money, more money, more money. That's really ultimately not necessarily, I've discovered, I didn't need that as much as I needed time. Okay? Because that's, again, the ultimate currency. And how I can truly determine the time I'm here is through myself and my actions on myself. And my wallet's not going to determine that anymore. And so I needed to, some people are saying, oh, you sound a little bit like Gary Keller. Yes, Yes, you sound a little Dave Ramsey. Yes, I understand that too. There's other people in my life that I thought, listen, if you're not educating yourself with smart people around you, you're flailing by yourself. Something's going to fall. Eventually, it will fall. And it'll really hurt. And I was there in 2006. And so I started my company. At that point in time, I sat down with an accountant and I said, okay, what do I need to do? And he said, the first thing you need to do is determine your salary. This is before I even hired anybody. So I want to get you guys in the right... Am I going down the right track, by the way, for you? Lee, thank you. So I wanted you to understand that I was in a position where I not only wanted to hire somebody, but I also needed to fire myself a little bit and hire myself again. So I literally started the LLC. I determined my value. At the time, it was like $12,000 a year. That's what my LLC paid me. Okay? And you speak with your tax accountant because it needs to be within a certain range of reasonable for that job and that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to give tax advice, trust me. And then the second thing was to determine how much I could afford to pay my assistant. Okay? And so for the people who are sitting here going, I want to be a team. I want this in my life. I want you to pay attention. You need to determine, you just can't go out and say, I'm going to hire an assistant. And I said that earlier, and I think you need to do that, but I did need to pull back and explain how to evaluate that. And so you have to evaluate your personal finances, your professional finances, and then say, okay, how much can I afford here? And you have to stay within a certain range because it's going to affect your personal and your business. So you have to also look at your area. And so you go, I started with an $8 an hour employee. I put her on hourly, and I told this person, again, you need to be honest. You need to say, hey, listen, I might be sending you home early this week. Before you even start this job, I just want to let you know that I'm going to start you at $8 an hour. This, again, you got to remember, this is a while ago. Not that long, but $8 doesn't really get you much anymore. Didn't get you much then either, really, but it was a tough spot to be in, only paying $8 an hour. So I found somebody that said, yes, I'm willing to do this. I said, listen, there's going to be times when I'm going to be checking your hours each week, and depending on the year, or depending on the month within the year, I might need you more here and less here. I can't pay you benefits. By the way, I didn't even know what unemployment had to pay unemployment. I didn't even know that. So all of that exists in that world, just so you guys know, and you need to discover that. I discovered it through pain. It's not my favorite thing, but the reality is that going into that conversation and being honest with that person, well, who am I going to do that with? It was somebody in my sphere because they understood me. They knew that I was really being honest with them. They knew that I wasn't going to promise and underdeliver. I wanted them as my assistant, and I wanted to over-deliver as far as being able to take them on our convention trips, being able to take them to lunch, being able to do, but in order to do some of those things, I needed to bring her in at $8 an hour and never, and give her a week's vacation without pay, because that's all I could afford. So you have to be honest with yourself and say, where do I start? Well, at this stage of the game, honestly, you guys know it. There's a ton of unemployed people in this city, country, etc. And we are in an opportunity where we can interview and talk with those people. And so there are people that will take an $8 an hour job today. There are people that are phenomenal that you could get at $8 an hour. It's hard. You got to dig through it because you're going, well, wait a minute. Why is this person looking at an $8 job? Like give an example here. I don't even know what minimum wage is. I think it's right around there. But my point is you need to really look at what you can afford and be honest with yourself. And you cannot afford a $56,000 secretary who's been on the job for somebody for the last 12 years who has 4 weeks vacation. You can't do it. So don't try to do it. Okay? Now, bring them in and evaluate that and determine what that is. And so now I will tell you that traditionally we are seeing people come in around $12 an hour, roughly in that area, in the Louisville area. Each city's different, okay? I do require a certain amounts of things. I require them to type in front. I know it sounds funny, but like I want to know typing speed, okay? Which I know sounds like a typewriter kind of thing going on. No, but they need to be able to put together an email pretty quickly, right? So I look at typing speed. I look at and we're going to discuss that next, but we look at the DISC test. We take them into 3-4 interviews, and they're going, I've never been through this. That's how we discovered the desires of this lady who we recently hired. I mean, it's like, I've never been through this. Nobody's ever asked me. Nobody's cared. And everybody just wants to know if I can do the job and send an email and fax, and that's it. You start digging deeper into these people, and that's when you show them your value because you care about them. They're not just an employee at $8, $10, $12, $16 an hour. It comes down to how much they are willing to give back to you because you are diving into them. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's why I started, and that's how I would advise you to think and to get into the mindset of how do I do this? How do I start? Why do I start a team if I want to? Why? You don't have to be a team as much as you might just need an assistant, and that's awesome. I know a lot of people who have one assistant who take care of a lot of their detail work for them. Because honestly, at some stage of the game, whether you are an individual, an agent who's doing this all by themselves, or an individual, an agent that has one assistant, you can do a lot of business. I want to do what I want to do personally in my life. And so that there is an amazing amount of people who have one assistant who handle all the transaction coordination, who do the blog work, and who do all of the paperwork and stuff like that. And this one person goes out and sells and sells and sells and sells. And I know a lot of people that succeed on a very high level like that. And I think that's awesome. Frankly, at times, don't raise your hand, but there are times where people who run a team feel like you're running an HR department. That's me. I've been there. And it's just this, you worry about the turnover. But if you hire the right people and you have the right people in your bus, if you will, and you guys are going down the same path together, then at that stage of the game, you know you have the right people. So does that address a little bit of the compensation, why you actually start and how you start? And we're going to go into a little bit more as far as what this looks like, as far as personalities and that kind of thing. I saw a hand. Yes. No. I should not say that. If we have dual agency in Louisville. If we have dual agency, I give a bonus to the buyer's agent who represented the buyer. The listing agent or myself always represents the seller. They're the buyer. If they actually end up selling our house, I give our buyer's agents an extra $500, depending on or whatever, $250. Depends on the volume of the house, but that's the only there is no performance bonus for a W-2 employee. Okay? If they sell 5 or more homes in a month, close 5 or more homes in a month, they get X. If they sell 10, they get X. So yes. That's a sale, that's a very different. And the reason is because this is a person who's motivated by money. Salespeople, much more motivated by money. Traditionally, more stable people, administrative roles, W-2 salaries. Again, salespeople, unemployable. These guys are, I'm kidding, but like these guys over here want a steady paycheck. That's why we get those people. They aren't motivated by the money as much as they are motivated by getting to Florida. Okay? And being treated right and being treated as a human. So, okay. So we're going to go into this next page here. It's a big circle. Or I'm sorry, before we get that, I kind of put this together for you guys. And one of the things that's important as a CE teacher is to have a little bit of feedback during the class, and so make sure everybody's awake. So to take literally 3 minutes for you guys to write, this is individual versus team right here. And this is literally 5 advantages to building a team and 5 disadvantages to building a team. And I want you guys to put this down, and we're going to kind of walk around and talk a little bit about that. This is not going to take but 5 minutes after your 3 minutes of writing it down. So we are not going to get stuck on it because I want to move on to the DISC test. But I would like for you guys to write down 5 advantages of building a team and 5 disadvantages of building a team. So just take 3 minutes to go ahead and write your opinion down. Does not matter. This is not graded. It's not judged. Go ahead and do that. Okay, for anybody who feels comfortable, go ahead and raise your hand and write out 1 advantage. Raise your hand and tell me, yes. Perfect. Great. So if you really like one thing about being a realtor and you specifically want to go into buyer agency or listing role, or if you aren't very good in front of people, but you're really good as a salesperson on the phone, it's called ISA, Inside Sales Associate. It's somebody who literally just calls internet leads or Sphere, and they're really good at that. That's an example of that. Yes. Somebody else had their hand. Yes. Ooh, I love how you wrote that. That is absolutely beautiful. Yes, she said you can increase the capacity. This is beautiful, actually. That's a pearl. You can increase the capacity for your ability to serve. And she specifically said serve your clients. But I love the idea of you could do that in many different ways. I mean, that's great. Thank you. Yes. Improve the quality of your life. Yes and no. I'm going to, as much as I got on my soapbox all over the last hour and a half about how my life has improved, et cetera, I know some individual agents who have an amazing life. Okay, so I don't want you guys to think, again, I want to be very clear on this. This is the risk, if you will, of teaching a class about teams and building a team, okay? So I know some great individual agents who have an amazing controlled life. Their goal is not to have 7 transactions in a year. Their goal is not to have 150 Some people don't like more. They just like better. They just like quality. So yes and no. For me, Agree. For you, maybe, but for some people, that's not necessarily like that. So, is that fair?
Yeah, I know that when but I have people in my office.
Agree.
That's what I want.
Agree. And that's, again, you got to remember that for me, correct me if I'm wrong, if I need to go to Uganda, which I'm going again in November, can I effectively sell and service my clients if I don't have a team, if I'm gone for 2 months? Yes or no? Is there anybody who's willing to say yes? No. It's hard. It would be impossible. It wouldn't be fair to my clients. So now, what do? You traditionally, as an individual agent, say, is it Val? Okay, Val. Val, would you take my business for the next 2 months and we can work this out, blah, 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 blah? Yes, great. Okay, so that's what we have just done. All right, so that's what you do, and that's fair. But now Val has double the business because she has hers and mine to worry about. Okay, so that can start to become an issue if you're not performing well, if you have a complaint from this person, complaint from that problem. So that's where I separate. That's where I say I feel like a team is the way to go. Running into that? Okay. So any disadvantages? Let's throw out a couple of disadvantages. Yes, Val. It's our nemesis, honestly. It's managing people. People are people. It is a struggle sometimes to manage people. Yes. And I got to tell you, when the market softens, you have to look at, oh my gosh, this is a W-2 employee. They're 100% dependent. That payroll has to get done no matter what. No matter what. And if you ask them too many times, hey, do you mind if we just delay your paycheck by a week? Who likes that? I've had to do it. I'll be honest with you. I haven't recently, praise the Lord, but I've had to do that, and that person's no longer with us. She moved, but it's not like I made it very attractive to stick around. So, yes. That's right. Yep. She said, if you join a team, your identity may be sacrificed. Okay? Your identity, is it Kelly? Kelly's team. And now it's Charles and Kelly's team. Or now it's AtlantaRealEstate.com team. Or whatever the case may be. Your identity is gone. Now, some people don't care about that, Kelly. Some people, and those are the people that you look for in a great quality buyer. It's somebody who's like, I don't need my name on the sign. I don't need my picture on the sign. I just want to make money, live my life, live my dreams. And so that's kind of who you look at. Because if you get someone that says, "Well, I'm a listing agent. Can I get my picture on my sign on the sign?" No, but you can have a rider. Something like that. That's kind of a small red flag. But yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Identity. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. And that's where you have to subscribe. I mean, elephant in the room. I know who one of the number one producers is here in Atlanta, and I know what company he's with. I get that. I will tell you that if you build the right team, and if you build, I think, the right people around it, it doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter. It's how you serve your clients. I mean, if I have Tom on my team and Tom believes 100% in what I believe in, And his clients have backed it up and and he's been serving the clients the exact same way that I want to be. And he's listed it properly in his sales and his reviews, reputation, everything has come back stellar. I don't have to walk in that house. Tom represents us. That's just my opinion. Again, you got to remember, Tom represents our brand. How do you all feel about, I'm going to kind of turn this on you a little bit. How do you all feel about Berkshire Hathaway, a Remax, a Keller Williams? It's the same idea. They aren't there, this is my opinion, I don't have my clients because I hang my hat with Keller Williams. My clients are there because of me. I mean, I love the fact that I love to talk to associations because I'm not a guy who goes, oh, you should all be here, period. Okay? That's not why you have one company that owns the entire thing. Okay? There are certain things that other people, and so I believe that in the same way, just watered down into my little world of Team Panella, if I have the right people who believe in what I believe in and they're servicing the right way, it's the same feeling. You don't have to agree. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Yeah. That's unfair to the client. I completely agree with you. That's exactly right. If you present yourself as I'm the one who's going to be negotiating, and you present I don't think that's fair to the client at all. I feel like that's my opinion. Is it legal? It's not for this class, but it's a question for you guys to think about. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm not looking for a team that sells 1,500 homes a year. That's not what I personally am looking for. So I'm going to be very involved in my client's business. But I am not here. That's how that person chooses to do their business. This person chooses their business. Each of us does it differently. The biggest thing that I want you all to learn is just to respect how they do their business. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to agree with it. It's just that that's how they're going to do it. And I think it goes both ways. Teams have to respect that there are people who are individual. I'm getting on my soapbox again, but that's just how I feel. Each person has a different. You joined one company over another because of you liked the specific thing about that company over this company, or you started your own because you don't like any of them. And you want to be who you are. And that's cool. I just feel like we just need to respect the people a little bit more. And that's hard to do. Because there's only 86 of you, not 8,000 of us in here. So, is that fair? We're going to get moving on to disc, but I don't want to get stuck on that. And ours. His and mine. Ours.
So your side will,
Let me say it this way. Whenever I list, and this is just me, I don't know how everybody's doing it, but I'll just tell you this. When I have a listing and let's just say it comes from Tom's sphere or my sphere, I'm an agent on it, and he's the agent on it. I co-broke it with them on my team. I think that it's extremely respectful to Tom because he's worked hard on that transaction. Again, this is my team. This is how I want to run it. And so I feel like that's how that's taken care of. And I put in there, if you have questions, please contact, and I don't know anything about Tom's house. I don't know his clients, but he's agreed to be on my team, so he put that in there. So in the agent notes on our MLS, it says, please contact Tom for any questions in regards to the transaction. Okay? Again, clarity is power. So having a very clear statement in there that says, contact Tom. So when I get a call or an email that says, hey, Scott, I need to ask you about Tom's brother who just listed his house with you. Here, call Tom. I'll be more than happy to give you his number because I'm not the one who handles that. So, and the buyers, same thing. I represent the buyer and the seller. So, I'm sorry, the buyer, sorry, let's just say Tom was a buyer's agent. Tom represents the buyer on the contract, so do I. Okay, so we're both on there together. We co-broke it. I think that that's a win-win for us. And I'll talk about win-wins here in a minute. Is that clear? Okay. Okay. So thank you all for doing that. So I need to go into a tailspin a little bit, but I want to go into DISC personality assessment tests. So for those people who have not heard about this, this is DISC personality, D, I, S, and C. There's different tests out there. We've all heard of Myers-Briggs, DISC. There's a bunch of different obvious personality tests. This is one that I've used. This is one that many companies use. You can get it from Tony Robbins for free. You can get it, just Google it, and you can get a test for free very quickly. I personally believe in the bottom one. It says the abelsongroup.com, take an assessment. I personally believe theirs is a little bit more detailed, okay? There are some people who take this and you get the results, and it's just literally you are one of 4, and you are in that box. So be careful on some of those tests. And the reason I say that is because this is, again, this is the start of a date, okay? This is what that is this is a start of a date. This is not, you don't determine somebody's will in this. You don't determine somebody's drive in this. Now, you determine the questions that you can develop to discover those things. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Yes, thank you. So I just want to make sure that you realize that I'm not saying that this is the holier than now, only do this and you can only hire a C personality for this. I'm just going off of what other people have taught me and experiences that I've had. Fair enough? Okay. So you take this test. It asks you a bunch of questions, handful of questions, and this is where I start the conversation with people and start unpeeling the onion. The C personality up on the top left is a compliance personality. All right, let's start with D as proper. D starts with dominance. I is an influencer. S is steady. And C is compliance. Oftentimes, salespeople are not detailed. Would you agree or disagree? Okay. So if you start looking at compliance and you see the words analyzer, cautious, accurate, pessimistic, exacting, does that sound like a salesperson? But if you go into an I, into an influencer, and you say optimistic, convincing, trusting, impulsive, interactive, not into details, does that sound like somebody in the trenches in sales? Okay. Now, this is when you start to really, in my opinion, blend everything together, because you can really have traits of all things. And first of all, there are DISC experts. There are people who teach DISC personality tests as literally as a living. I'm not one of them. Okay? I've just given it enough and taken it a couple of times and learned and gone into classes just like this to learn a little bit about each one of them. So please understand that I'm not coming from an authoritative figure when it comes to this, but I've learned a little bit about it, so that's why I'm teaching it. And it's very important to me. So the dominance factor and the steadiness factor are opposite in the quadrants. My point to that is, if you look at somebody who is in a D, they might be confrontational, driving, they're a risk taker, they're demanding, they're results oriented, as opposed to an S personality, which is indirect, stable, patient, very predictable, slow to change. These are all factors that that I determine who I'm going to hire, and they're all factors, not determining. They're not the single thing. Again, they're not the single thing that I determine it, but they all come into factors. Okay, I personally have an ID personality. That's my personal disc, is an ID. I lead with my I. Okay, to be very transparent, I am one person who talks up here, and when Mark challenges me, oh gosh, challenge. But not too much, because I have a D personality also that I can attack that with my experience. Okay? Does everybody understand that? So that's an example of my transparency, an example of who I am. But I lead with, I get my energy from other people. I like to be on stage. I find it very comfortable up here. I hope you think it is. There is an S personality who would not be up here if you paid them $5 million. Phyllis. She doesn't want to be up on stage. She likes to be the consistent person. And that's awesome. There are parts of my life where I would love to be that person, because I'm like, grass is always greener, sometimes people say. I'm like, oh man, why did I volunteer for this one? But it's just who we are. It's just who we are. So I want you to understand that oftentimes you will see salespeople succeed in an I personality. You will see administrative assistants in a C personality, because we have to be exact with our paperwork. We have to be correct with things. And we have to see, obviously, a steadiness about them. So oftentimes you hear people say, oh, I want an SC personality. I want an SC personality for my assistant. Or I want an I personality for my buyer's agent. Or I'm a D personality, so I'm going to run this team. And there are people who celebrate being a D personality. It's hilarious. So, I mean, and there's this feeling, probably the same feeling that you guys are looking at me going, this guy loves teams, it's only teams, it's only teams. But there are people who think that the D personality is the best personality to be. Traditionally, they're the D personalities that think that way. But that's the only way to be. So this is how I'm going to get it done. I'm a results guy. This is how I'm going to get it done. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, those D personalities cannot survive without the other people surrounding them. Okay? They will run themselves into the ground, and they will be the guys who just everybody doesn't like. Okay? And that's no fun. So there's blending that happens. I mentioned that I'm an ID personality. Okay? There's blending that does occur. And if you start looking truly at if you look at the north, south, east, and west directly on this, for lack of a better term, you would see there's an implementer, there's a promoter, there's a supporter, coordinator, implementer, persuader, and relator. That's where you get the blend of people. Okay? And then you start to see some people who are people-oriented versus task-oriented. You will see some people that are externally focused, and then you'll see some people that are much more internally focused. Okay? And so the more and more you understand this, and the more and more you read about this, the more and more you become able to determine who you want on your team. Okay? And you start to determine what it looks like as far as a job is concerned. And you start building a job description. That's what you start to do. You start to be able to build a job description. Looking for an assistant who's going to be dominating, results-driven, doesn't care about details. Well, that doesn't make sense. Okay? So we start to pay attention to those things. So you start to be able to build a job description around it. Does that make sense? So with that being said, we're going to write a quick job description for you guys and see what that looks like, because this is really where the rubber meets the road, because you're here for, I understand you're here for some CE, I get that. But but you're also here for some education. And so for those of you who are an I personality, I want you to write a job description now, and we're going to write 4 job descriptions. So I'm going to tell you again your personalities, and then I'm going to have you write your own job description. Then I'll kind of share some of those job descriptions. So this is just a little 5-minute exercise. Again, D personality is somebody who is like, Scott, get to the point, please. Okay? And I'm going to give you the elevator analogy. Okay? Has anybody heard this before? The elevator analogy when it comes to these DIS personalities. Elevator analogy is you get in an elevator and you hit the button. You even see somebody coming and you still hit the button. If that's you, again, this is just general speaking. Okay? If that's you, I'm not going to comment on you, but if that's you, you're a D personality. Okay? If that's you, who's just going, close the door, I got to get to my room, I got to get downstairs, whatever it is, that's where I want to be. Okay? I didn't say there's anything right or wrong. Yeah, there's no right or wrong here. The I personality hits the button, the elevator opens up, here's their name, or just here's something, just kind of daydreaming a little into their own world and ends up having this little bit of a party with the people on the elevator and maybe even off the elevator and sees the elevator go because they can get it again. They're just kind of into this relationship with the people around the elevator. Okay? They're holding the elevator for the person to come on because they want that person to come on and not just to be nice, but to be able to talk with them and talk about the resort or the conference or whatever they're at. They get their energy from other people. They want other people on the elevator. Okay? That's an I personality. The S personality is somebody who presses the button, walks in, and is literally just very quiet, kind of stands in the back of the elevator, and just is simple and plain, and just kind of blends into what's happening around them. Presses the elevator button, makes sure that there's nobody coming either way, because they're safe, and they're steady, and there's nothing too frantic going on, and they go to their room, or go to the conference, or go wherever they need to go in the elevator. The C personality, and that's fine, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. The C personality is somebody who presses the button, walks in the elevator, gets in the elevator, looks up at the numbers, looks down at the numbers, presses the exact number that they're getting to. Other people walk into the elevator, they move to the right or to the left, and they start counting how many people are in. They start looking at the elevator. Wait a minute. They're calculating the weight versus the amount of people that are in the elevator. And they're also wondering if the registration is truly in the operator's office of the building. That's a C personality, okay? Now, those are a little bit extreme, but for those people who are a D personality, I would like for you to write just a simple job description, and we're going to talk about this, a simple job description to find a buyer specialist. Okay, that is somebody who is looking to work with buyers only. They're traditionally a higher I personality. And they're somebody who, again, specifically wants to work with work with buyers. For the C personality, this is okay. I do not want the C's to get stuck too long. Again, remember, this is only a 3 to 5 minute exercise. C personality, just write a nice description on somebody that you want to work with as an administrative assistant. Okay? The administrative assistant. And the C personalities, please try to keep it under 200 words. Okay? The S personality, for those of you who are an S personality, I would like for you to write down a job description to hire a listing specialist. Somebody that is a listing specialist. And then I personality, if you guys want to go to the bathroom, you can. Go ahead. No, I'm just... I personalities, this is a little bit of a different scenario, but I personalities is somebody who you want to be your, what they call your marketing specialist, okay? Somebody who is working on blog work, working on photography, all the fun stuff in marketing, okay? That's what we want to do. We're going to do this for, again, 5 minutes, and then we're going to move on. Yes? It's a good. So for the sake of the exercise, just do what I told you. she's a C personality. That's awesome. Okay, so for the sake of the exercise, just do that. But for the sake of for the sake of real life in the trenches, you are exactly correct. You don't want to hire yourself. I mean, like, I'm not here to hire somebody who's just like me, because they're going to fail in the detail world. They're going to fail. If I hired somebody just like me, I'm terrible at details. I printed this last night at Kinko's, and I mean, I'm not a detail guy. Okay, so same thing goes for, if you're an I personality, you don't want to hire an I personality to be an admin, because you won't get work done effectively. Okay, so as you guys are writing, and I'm not going to pick on anybody at all this time, but it says, having a written job description for each position is vital to the success of a realtor's team. And the reason I believe that is because especially if they're an S or an I personality, S or a C personality, they want a job description more than anything. They want to be told what to do. They want to be exactly told what to do. And that's very clear in their personality. This is why you have to send this test before you even sit down with these people. I believe, it's just my opinion, I believe that it's vitally important to say, hey, I'm going to send you a link. I would like for you to take that test. When you're done with that test, we'll get together and we'll review that. How does that sound to you? Great. If they sit there and go, well, where do I find it, and what do I do to get into it and everything like that? I'm like, whew, man, I need some self-sufficiency in this position I'm hiring. So that's a red flag. Like, I need them to be able to do that on their own. A D personality go, okay, cool, I'll call you back. That's easy, done, move on. C personality might go, oh my gosh, what do I do? But if they're a good C personality that has drive, that can figure some things out on their own, they will get it done and they will find out how to do it and figure out how to do it. Okay? So that just remember that. So when I send it out to people are like, okay, I got this. Or what do I have to say, or whatever I have to do? I'm like, no. Just take the test. Once it's done, you and I will sit down and review the results. It's a personality test. It's very easy. There's no right or wrong. Just be who you are in it. Now, there are tons of people that will say this test is flawed, this test is this test is that. And that's true. If you're going through a traumatic situation, because what this does is it really tells you your true core self. And it tells me who I am to myself and who I am to others. And so you get to see both sides of that, okay, in the test results. Now, what I was saying is, if you're going through a divorce, for example, or if you lost a loved one, and you have something that's just completely going through your life that is tearing your life down or apart a little bit, at that stage of the game, you're going through some personal trauma, and you got to remember, when you're hiring somebody, I always start out with, now I want to make sure the test is accurate. Do you really feel this is true to yourself? Are you going through anything? Again, this is not judging their job. Are you going through anything in order to get the proper results on this test? And to be fair to you and to me, I want to make sure that you're not going through anything that's going to skew this test. Would that be okay? Yes. Okay, great. no, my grandmother just died or whatever, and I was very close with her, then you might have to just say, okay, well, great. I just take that I just kind of take that in perspective and got to remember that happened. Okay, so you have to pay attention to that, because it's one of those things where if your DISC test is skewed a little bit, and you read it back to them and you say back to them, hey, does this sound like you? Yes, it does. Sounds very much like me. I'm exactly like that. Because you'll get a result, and that's when you know you're on the right path. At least you can now have the conversation of, what am I hiring for? Okay? What am I hiring for? A couple of things that I want you guys to look at in your job descriptions. It doesn't matter how you look at it. I want you to remember a couple of things. One, self-starter. I think having self-starter in your job description is important. The reason I say that is because it doesn't matter what personality you are, everybody wants to believe they're a self-starter. Is everybody a self-starter? No. But everybody thinks they want to be, or they think they already are. So the reason I put that in there is because if they don't think they're a self-starter, red flag. Okay? So I always am very honest with the salary or the hour. Okay? I don't want to deal with somebody who thinks they're going to make $85,000 when I'm not willing to pay more than $12. Okay? $12 an hour, or whatever that equates to. So I don't believe in hiding the salary. It is what it is. You want to get the people who are okay with it. Right? I mean, if you put out there, oh, this is a $46,000 job, then it's a $46,000 job. It's not a $26,000 job. So put out there what you're willing to pay. It sets the expectation up front. Clarity is power. And so it gives everybody, both sides of the aisle, understanding as to what they're going to get paid. Okay? I put the expectations of the job as far as what I'm looking for. Cold calling. If they're afraid of cold calling, I don't want them if I'm looking for a buyer specialist, because that's who, or an ISA. An ISA, again, inside sales associate. Somebody who is licensed, who is calling, I believe they should be licensed, who is calling buyers or sellers, they're calling leads, and they're handing them off to the buyer specialist once the buyer has committed to working with the team. Very popular today. Getting more and more popular. The listing specialist, if they're afraid of the phones, it's going to be a struggle. Going to be a struggle because you've got to make phone calls in this business. Or if they are somebody, if you're hiring for an administrative position, and you don't like their typing speed, or if they have lots of spelling errors, grammatical errors. I mean, some of this stuff is basic, guys. You know that, but you can't forget it when you're hiring. I interview people. It's very similar to a buyer in our MLS. Is the first showing the actual showing of the house? No, not anymore. It's online. The pictures. If they want to see it personally, that means it's kind of like a second showing anymore. With the amount of pictures, the quality of pictures, most of the time, quality of pictures, drone camera, technology today has changed that, and so you have virtual tours, etc., etc. So the first showing physically in the house is kind of like a second showing. It's kind of like that when hiring also. I'm not going to go on a second date unless the first one went well enough to move on. Okay? So I'm going to have to reevaluate after every single date or every single interview. And if you don't like the results, you have to move on politely and nicely. Okay? Don't hire, in my opinion, people without being very clear. This is a very what not to do sort of thing here. Okay? being very clear with people is so important. So if you're hiring a sister, a friend, a relative, a church member, somebody who you see every single weekday, whatever it is, that's okay, but be very clear with your expectations. Up front, it is so much more important to be up front with your expectations than later on dealing with the repercussions of what we all know could happen. Okay? So have a written agreement up front as to what your expectations are. If you want a written agreement, I'm gonna let y'all hit the easy button and I'll email it to you. Scott@teampanella.com. You can get my written agreements. Just email me. Be nice. And just get a written agreement. Now, some people don't have written agreements, and that's fine. And that's fine. They might have a handshake. They might have a, whatever it is, and that's fine. And you might have made millions that way. But I will tell you, the majority need a written agreement because the expectations are always failing more than they are succeeding. Okay, again, that's the asterisk that's out there. If you are on a team that doesn't have an agreement and doesn't have that stuff, you might want to implement it. You never know what's going to happen. Your productivity might increase. Your time away from from the team and with your family might increase. You don't know. But I know that setting expectations up front are extremely important. That way people, they have a measuring stick. Okay? That's why we take tests in life, people. So that's really important to understand that. In my opinion, you cannot get, this is gonna be pretty interesting, but you can't get too close to your team. Now, what I mean by that is you're going to want to stay at arm's length at all time. I've seen it where people have had way too many coffees with an individual agent on their team, and the next thing you know, that other person's marriage is failing, and this person looks pretty attractive right now. I've seen teams just dismantle because of those things. So having those boundaries is extremely important. Establishing those boundaries is extremely important on teams. And those of you who are either the broker of an office, who run an office, I believe that it's your job to keep the integrity of your office together. That's, again, my opinion. We are all 1099. Most of us are 1099 employees, but I still think that you are a reflection of the brokerage that you are in as well. And I think that if you have a disaster in your brokerage, you, the broker, need to address those issues. And they aren't doing anything illegal in the real estate world, but morally everybody knows about it. I think that it's your responsibility to bring that up and fix it. That's my opinion. Okay. Step off that for a little bit. But my point is that that's where I personally have seen issues where people have broken down those boundaries and they've not respected their boundaries. Okay? So you need to establish those rules, the boundaries, the expectations all up front. If you don't have those things, then when it happens, you can only look at yourself as somebody to blame. Okay? Going to places to hire. Good places to hire. 3 good places to hire and 1 great one. I blew this surprise earlier. Number 4, as much as I bashed it, number 4 is Craigslist, in my opinion. This is to get resumes. Okay? There are some good quality people in Craigslist, and no problem. It just takes a little bit more time, guys, okay? The expectation shouldn't be, in my opinion, that you're going to find somebody, if you're looking for somebody in the administrative world, and this is your first hire, you might want to start there. You might get some resumes and see what happens. But if you're looking for somebody to run your company, probably wouldn't be the best spot to do it. If you're looking for somebody as a buyer specialist, somebody that is looking, and this is for, in my opinion, brokerages also, if you're looking to grow your company, I think that it's really easy to look at Facebook and post out there that you're growing. We've all seen it. We've all done it. Some of us. But we're growing. The appearance is fantastic for our clients, for our customers, because it means you're selling stuff. The opportunity's out there. So your friends, family, your sphere of people on Facebook, it's there. It's out there. Okay? The number three is your direct sphere. Now, again, you have to be careful with this. Your direct sphere, in my opinion, again, people that you run into all the time, weekly, monthly. If they're looking for a new position, if their husband or wife or partner or whatever it is lost their job and they need to get a new one, they need to know you're hiring. If you don't tell them, they don't know. So if you need to tell them. Just say, hey, by the way, I just want to let you know, we're hiring in the next month. Saw you at church today, saw you whatever. We're hiring in the next month. If you know of anybody that has a situation where they need a job, let them call me. Email, whatever it is. I'm looking. And the next thing you know, they're going, well, you know, Jim lost his job, and we're kind of concerned about that. Or I'm looking for some hours. We need to do this too. What are you looking for? And you never know who will discover. But honestly, the number one place, is your past clients. Okay, it's amazing to hire a past client. And the reason I say that, again, has to be the right client. If you don't have a database, I highly recommend getting a database. But if you email them and just say, hey, we're hiring, we're looking for somebody, is it you? This is what we're looking for. They might understand why you're hiring that. Okay? If you are an individual agent who might be flailing a little bit and your business might be suffering just a touch and you're looking for some assistance and help, and if your brokerage gives you that support and it's not enough support, then I highly recommend going down the road of hiring somebody. Or if your brokerage doesn't give you any support, I highly recommend you going down the road of hiring an individual assistant. Okay? And those people, honestly, will give back to you because they just went through your system as a past client. Hey, do you remember when this person did that? Do you remember? They just went through that, within the last year or two. And if not, they went through it at some point in time. Otherwise, they wouldn't be a past client. But that is a great place. And if you have to fire them, they aren't family. Okay? Most of them aren't. Okay? But again, if you set the expectation up front, exactly what you're looking for, they might weed themselves out already. Okay? So there's 4 different places that you can look for hiring. The other place that I've heard of and seen, I've not used it personally myself, is a headhunter. Headhunters in Atlanta, they might be a little bit more expensive than they would be in Louisville, but headhunters, might be a great spot for an hourly, a W-2 employee. It'd probably be you might be able to find a headhunter for a salesperson, but they're probably in medical sales, which is a good place to find people, but they might still be looking for medical sales only. So medical sales traditionally has a base plus situation, and a lot of times, I don't offer that. A lot of times agents don't offer that. So there are people who do, I'm sure, but I don't offer that, except in the listing agent role sometimes. Craigslist, Facebook, Sphere, and past clients. LinkedIn, great. I'm so glad you said that, actually. It's kind of like the mole on my head. I just have it. I don't know what to do with it. Okay? Honestly, it's not. You look like George Bush. I just realized that. Holy cow! Wow, that's amazing. You see that guy? So you've been told that before, haven't you? Okay. So sorry. I just realized that. I'm like, who does that guy look like? Who's that guy? So sorry. I've got to wrap this all up in 15 minutes too. It's going to be beautiful. I have a bow on it and everything. So, okay, so LinkedIn. It's a great place to do it. Professional resume. Basically, it's a professional resume placement website. Obviously, a lot of people know about it. It's a great place to do it. I just didn't have. You pay like an upgrade for it, or what? Okay. Cool. Thank you. I've never done that there, but I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. So I'm gonna blast through this last part. I just want to. I'm going to go back into a couple of things. I want to stick a little bit. I want to spend literally the last 10 minutes on the win-win agreements, and then I'll have 5 minutes for questions. 5 minutes that we're going to go over some books. That I'm going to do that right now, and then if we have questions at the end, obviously I'm here to help. Before we go to win-win agreements, I want to go to Great Leadership Team books because I can get through this pretty quickly. These are 4 different books that I've read and that I firmly believe in. And they are team leader, they're leadership, motivation, motivational skills, and caring. Legendary Service by Ken Blanchard. If you couldn't tell, I care a lot about service. Do I always give great service? No. But do I try? Yes. Okay. Do I fail? Yes. Am I human? Yes. But there's a I care model where it says ideal service, culture of service, attentiveness, responsiveness, and empowerment. I implore you to read this book if you are in a customer service industry, which, by the way, we are. Okay, seriously, it is so important, and I recommend if you guys are not if you are not in a team itself. First of all, if you are a team and a group of team, read it all together. Okay? Don't be a fly-by-night book club. Just read it together and come back and talk about it. Okay? One person take one chapter and kind of go that route. The other thing is that if you don't have accountability partners, I firmly believe in accountability partners. Okay? I have people holding me accountable to give a goat. I have my wife holding me accountable to being a great father and husband. I have business accountability partners as well, and a coach. So you don't have to go down all that road. That's just because I'm psychoanalysis myself. But the biggest thing is I think that it's great to read with other people and share your opinion with other people and see what they got out of it. It's really, really important to do that kind of stuff. So just wanted to go down through those books. Going into customer experience and scripts, it's a very easy process. Again, I've got 2 minutes to do this, but we touched a little bit on it earlier, and that if you explain to your clients and if you explain to them up front why Tom is going to help you through this process and what Tom believes in the process, Tom can help you. And will help you probably at a greater level than I do because Tom's role was fit for him. It was not fit for me. He is much better and in more houses and in a much better situation than Tom, and that's why we're co-broking on this together. Okay? So you are honest with your clients and be upfront with them to explain to them why you're teaming up with Tom and those people. Okay? All right, so I just want to go back to make it a win-win agreement. Okay, I'm going to kind of go through this. Don't ask questions until the end, okay? Because I'm going to get through this. That way, you guys, I want to respect your time. You have 10 minutes left, but I want to get through this, and then we can have questions at the end. Okay? Again, this is a little bit of my experience, a little bit of my opinion, a little bit of staying accountable with people, as well as masterminding with other agents, and not just my brand of other agents. I'm great friends with Mara. I would refer Mara in a minute, and in fact, I have referred Mara, and she's not in my company, and that's okay. Okay, I believe we do more with more people. Okay, so I want you guys to understand that when I say this, this is not the Bible. This is my opinion. This is how I ran my team. Okay. Salaried position is admin. All right? Admin, they need steadiness. They need an income. This is a salaried or hourly W-2 employee. I firmly believe that if you are an individual agent, you are able to hire between 10 and 15, this is Louisville, I don't know what it is here, between $10 and $15 an hour if you're going to be doing an hour spot, and get a good person. Salaried people, so I got to tell you, hourly people, you have to be careful sometimes hourly because you have to tell them to take a lunch. There's some legalities, and again, I'm not an employment lawyer nor specialist nor claim to be, but there are some legalities that you do and are required to give when it comes to hourly employees as well as salaried. Okay? So you have to make sure the hour lunch is respected. Salary position is a little bit different. They have to get the job done within the time frame they have to get it done. They also don't have to clock in and out. But if they aren't getting the job done, the job description has been written, you can have that conversation with them to maybe they aren't a match for you anymore. Okay? I think that you can get in my opinion, a great, probably high 70 to 100, 150 transactions employee for somewhere between $35,000 and $55,000 a year. Again, I'm in Louisville, don't know what that is around here. Okay? Those people are the lifeblood of your business. And I really think that it's important to give them a vacation or 2 weeks, okay? A week or two. I personally think that it's a week, 1 week for the first year, the second year, and then 2 weeks into the third year. Okay? They have to take the vacation yearly that cannot accrue. You have to be specific and go over this stuff. Otherwise, people will take advantage of you. Okay? So you have to be specific. Now, buyer's agents. This is, again, my belief. Buyer's agents can start anywhere between 45% to them and 50% to them, and 55% to me, or 50% to me. I don't deviate from that. I never, ever 100% go above 50% on a transaction, unless it's like their mom, and then I don't take anything like that. But I do not ever take over 50%. You are, in my opinion, I am paying for everything that they are a part of on our team. Their business cards, their websites. Again, there's tons of models here, guys, because some people don't pay for any of that stuff. I do not pay for their E&O insurance and their board dues because they can do that as an individual agent or on a team. I want to give them that they can the benefit of being on the team, meaning I'll pay for our office space, I'll pay for our riders, anything along the team lines I pay for. Okay. The one thing that I will tell you is that I incentivize them. We have a national convention, and I pay for their flight and their registration. They take care of their own housing because I like to have them a little skin in the game. Because if you've ever been to a national convention, it's a party if you're not careful. Okay, so I like to have them have skin in the game when it comes to our incentive situation there. But I pay for everything except their board dues, their E&O insurance. That's it, and their MLS dues. It's just two totally different things in our world. Okay, I believe that I will always throw more leads and more opportunities into the hat than they will, and it's my responsibility to do so, in my opinion. That is, I give my brother to Mark, and I split that 50-50 because Mark works his tail off for us on a regular basis. Now, I also think sometimes if Mark wants to give his brother to me, I won't take it because you know what? I want to keep the morale high. Okay? I always want to be above board. And that's something that I believe in. All right? And I think that when you give a little, you're going to get tons in return. Okay? Listing agents. Again, this is just touching base, a couple of different models here. Listing agents are people who may be on a salary for $10,000 to $20,000. And then they are incentivized on per listing that they have. Okay? And they would get a 20% referral on top of their salary, a 25% referral on top of their salary, whatever the situation is. Again, this is just a look into some people and how they work. The idea of giving them is that they aren't going to have as much opportunities as buyers. There's more buyers, and this kind of started in the buyer's market, so that's turning a little bit, but at least in Louisville. But what we're starting to see is those people, they love the idea of having some stability there and going after more and going after more. So we incentivize them with production. I think you asked about that earlier, with how many listings they get per month, okay, stuff like that, and how many their days on market. Like, you just don't want to go get a bunch of junk listings so you can get your bonuses, that kind of stuff. Showing assistant. This is a model where somebody, Val is a buyer specialist, and Val is not great at converting people on the phone. So we have, if Val has 12 buyers at one time, is crazy. Certain people might struggle with this in our class, okay? And the reason I say that is because what's happening is we're starting to see Val become a great buyer specialist because our ISA, our internal sales associate, has converted buyer leads from Zillow, from our websites, from whatever, and it's just buyer leads. And by the way, we're still getting Sphere people too. And so Val now has 12 people that she has to take care of in the next 2 weeks. Well, how is Val going to show all that property while maintaining a life that she wants to live? We've hired Jane, who will take her clients out and show them the property. So yes, to answer a question, there are people who are selling that house without Val walking into that house. Is that right, wrong? Not for us to judge, in my opinion. It's happening, folks. The market is happening. It is happening. I don't believe in judging it. It's tough to negotiate sometimes, in my opinion, on what that house is like without ever walking into it, but it's happening, okay? But that, to be honest with you, is a true relationship between Val and this showing assistant. They get $25 per house that they show. They get a bonus for showing under 5 houses, and they get a percentage of the contract. It might be a 10% commission off of it. They are a licensed person, a 1099 person. Okay, we're seeing different models of that. So whoever said, "Wow, that's Louisville," that's just with us. Some people are paying less. Some people are paying more. Okay, it's a major part of the business, and it's happening, guys. The other thing is that this relationship between Val and Jane, who's the showing assistant, has to be vitally important and good, because the communication between the two has to be huge, and all the time, just an ongoing communication about the house, about the clients, how they're doing, that kind of stuff. Okay. Okay, yeah, I've just got a couple more. I talked a little bit about this inside sales assistant. That is more of an hourly position with a bonus from your LLC. They can't get, if they're unlicensed, they can't get bonused off the commission, okay? But they can get bonus for how many calls they make. Does that make sense? Okay. Hourly positions, a runner, okay? I want to pay somebody $8.50 an hour to run my signs, my lock boxes. You know, some people use flyer boxes. I don't. Bloggers, $20 a blog. It'll get you a great blog in Louisville. Don't know what that'll get here. Okay, college kids will do it all day long. SEO or an indexing specialist, to those technology-driven people here. That's building the back end of your website and increasing SEO on Google, etc. A photographer. Some people have photographers on staff. okay? And I've seen those people get paid around $18,000 to $20,000. It's on a really big scale, guys. This is for people that are running, 200 to 300 homes a year as far as sales are concerned. So that's an on-staff photographer, okay? They're also taking care of marketing, that kind of stuff, all right? If there's any other things out there, basically that's what we've got. Now, I'm here for any questions. It is 12:30. If you were here and you want to get, I don't know what, do they need to get anything?
Don't get up 1 second.
You do need to turn in your evaluation and your blue sheet. If you, together. To get your CE, you have to turn in the blue. Now, if you have questions, you still get your CE if you don't have questions. If you have questions and you want to stick around, I will keep this mic on and we will wait till everybody clears out who don't have questions or don't want to hear anything, and I will stick around until 1:45. How's that sound, Mara? Is that okay? Okay? Okay, so if you don't have questions and you're leaving, just try to do it gently and quietly and go from there. Again, my email is scott@teampanella.com if you have questions. Give a Goat is give-a-goat.com. And thank you very much for everything else.